In the beginning, we see the prison of Belmarsh, a notorious prison in London, that houses some of the most dangerous criminals, including murderers and rapists. Among them is Kane Burgess, a muscular and heavily scarred man with metal teeth. Despite his intimidating appearance, Kane has a kind heart, but the harsh environment of the prison has hardened him into someone capable of violence. Inside the prison, Kane has faced numerous attacks from other inmates, but he has always managed to survive. One day, Kane is escorted to the hospital to visit his sick mother, accompanied by a high-security team. However, upon reaching his mother's bedside, he discovers that she has passed away. He is overcome with grief, realizing that he missed his chance to say goodbye to her. Despite his profound sadness, Kane remains calm on the outside, having learned to bury his emotions deep within while in prison. After spending his final moments with his mother, he surprises the guards in the elevator, launching a sudden and brutal attack. With lightning speed, he incapacitates them, sending them crashing through the elevator floor. Kane then escapes through the hospital's back door. In the next scene, Kane tries to enter a private bar but is blocked by the bouncers. To get inside, he engages in a few fistfights, effortlessly overpowering the bouncers and gaining entry to the bar. As he goes inside, he decides to get comfortable. During a casual chat with Bez, a talkative bartender, Kane introduces himself as a member and orders a big glass of beer. While enjoying his drink, he eavesdrops on a group of people sitting across the bar. It is revealed that they are members of a gang that has scaled back their activities following the murder of one of their members, Rook, and the disappearance of their accountant. One of the gang members, Toon, begins recounting the events leading up to Rook's murder. According to Toon, while they were selling drugs at their usual spot, they noticed someone lurking nearby in the darkness. Curious, Rook approached the person to ask what they wanted and why they were staring at them. When the stranger remained silent, Rook became agitated and attempted to punch him. Suddenly, a terrifying incident occurs as Rook is struck by an axe, severing his hand and causing it to fall to the ground, dripping with blood. Toon, witnessing the gruesome scene, claims he chased after the attacker and scared them away. However, Kane bursts into laughter, mocking Toon's story. When the gang members ask him about his reaction, he accuses Toon of lying and asserts that it was Toon who fled the scene after Rook's murder. Angered by Kane's accusations, Toon and his gang members threaten him, preparing for a fight. But when Kane reveals that he is the infamous killer, they back off in fear. After hearing this, Bez panics and demands Kane leave her bar immediately. During this, the bouncers Kane beat earlier come inside to find him. As the bouncers attempt to confront Kane, he quickly overpowers them. With a double-barreled shotgun in hand, Kane demonstrates his dangerous nature, sending a chilling warning to anyone who dares to challenge him. Then, Kane asks the gang about their boss and seeks information about his whereabouts. It is revealed that their boss Lincoln is actually Kane's brother. Despite his brutal behavior, Kane is determined to find Lincoln, who is involved in shady dealings. However, instead of Lincoln, Kane encounters Hyde, Lincoln's right-hand man, who recognizes Kane and mocks him for his past. As tensions escalate, a bouncer tries to attack Kane. In a swift move, Kane shoots the bouncer in the kneecap, causing immense pain. The bouncer's screams fill the air, prompting Kane to quickly incapacitate him with a powerful kick to the face. This display of force asserts Kane's dominance and sends a clear message to the gang. Despite Toon's doubts about Kane's involvement in Rook's murder, Hyde remains skeptical. This frustrated Kane, and to settle the matter, Kane shows them Rook's severed hand, proving that he is telling the truth. Now, with a shotgun in hand and a reputation for ruthlessness, Kane asserts his dominance, compelling everyone to comply with his demands. After this, Kane holds Hyde and Lincoln accountable for his imprisonment, demanding Lincoln's presence. As tensions escalate, Kane recounts his past as a struggling boxer seeking financial support from Lincoln. However, Lincoln, along with Rook and Stokes, dismissed Kane's potential, leading to a fateful turn of events. This reveals how Kane transformed from a hopeful boxer to a feared criminal. The scene shifts to the time when Kane asks Lincoln for money. Before Lincoln responds to Kane's request for financial assistance, Rook belittles him and rejects his plea. After this, Lincoln initially refuses to lend him money. However, just as Kane prepares to leave, Lincoln stops him with a proposition. He tells him that he will provide the funds if Kane completes a task for him. Reluctantly, Kane agrees to the deal, unaware of its nature. He meets Hyde, who briefs him on the task and tells him to steal a plastic bag from an unsuspecting woman and return it to the office. Oblivious to the potential consequences, Kane carries out the robbery as instructed. He snatches the bag from the woman and runs away. Unexpectedly, the woman fiercely chases after Kane, as if her life depends on it. Their chase intensifies until tragedy strikes as the woman is struck by a passing car. The woman dies on the spot, and Kane is shocked by the accident because he had not seen it coming, and he clearly did not want anyone dying. As Kane is in shock, he is swiftly apprehended by law enforcement and taken to jail. Days later, Kane encounters O'Hara, a professional detective who has long monitored his brother's activities. In their conversation, O'Hara reveals damning information about Lincoln's illicit loan business. She tells him that Lincoln lures helpless people into borrowing money, only for it to be stolen before they can use it, plunging them deeper into debt. Eventually, the business seizes all of their assets, including their home and personal vehicle, leaving them hopeless. After this, the detective urges Kane to betray Lincoln, highlighting his brother's bad deeds. Despite this, Kane remains loyal, unwilling to turn against his family. With his involvement in robbery, manslaughter, and organized crime, Kane knows that he is in deep trouble. However, his brother's assistance gives him hope, prompting him to stand firm. Subsequently, Kane encounters Sergeant Evans, a formidable and corrupt interrogator known for his brutal methods. Despite Kane's resistance, Evans subjects him to relentless physical abuse, leaving him battered and unconscious. As a result, Kane finds himself in Belmarsh prison, infamous for its squalor and violence, earning it the nickname, Meat Grinder. Inside this unforgiving prison with no prior criminal record, Kane faces daunting challenges from his fellow inmates. On his first day in Belmarsh prison, Kane faces an unprovoked attack by an inmate. Despite his efforts to defend himself, Kane gets in trouble with multiple other inmates. During this fight, they overpower him, and he sustains severe injuries, including the loss of his front teeth. As a result, he receives metal dentures, which he surprisingly begins to embrace, as they enhance his intimidating appearance. After a few days, during a visit from his mother, Mrs. Burgess, Kane learns that his brother, Lincoln, holds him responsible for his actions and refuses to intervene on his behalf. Feeling betrayed by Lincoln's abandonment, Kane questions the loyalty he has shown to his brother, especially considering that it was Lincoln's actions that landed him in prison in the first place. Despite the lack of communication from Lincoln, Kane remains resilient and asks his mother to ensure that Lincoln contacts him. However, as days pass without any word from his brother, Kane begins to feel abandoned and realizes that he must rely solely on himself. Facing frequent attacks from other inmates, Kane is constantly on guard. Despite the challenges, he commits himself to a rigorous physical and mental training regimen to prepare for the future. One day, while in the prison yard, Kane finds himself in trouble with two other prisoners. However, thanks to his rigorous training regimen, Kane easily incapacitates the duo with a few well-placed punches. However, his victory is short-lived when one of the beaten inmates reveals a shocking truth. He tells Kane that his brother has put a £20,000 bounty on his head. This revelation explains the relentless attacks Kane has endured in prison since day one. Fueled by anger and a desire for revenge against those who have betrayed him, Kane finds a new reason to keep fighting. After this revelation, the lure of the prize money attracted more and more prisoners every day. However, as their numbers increased, so did Kane's determination and strength. Each fight resulted in new injuries, additional prison sentences, and days spent in solitary confinement. The other inmates were relentless in their attempts to kill Kane, using every available weapon, including homemade versions of flammable liquids like napalm, which partially burned his face. As the violence escalated, Kane began to transform into a ruthless and unrecognizable version of himself. His sole objective became survival, and he showed no mercy to anyone, not even the prison guards, many of whom suffered serious injuries at his hands. Slowly but surely, Kane became a bloodthirsty monster consumed by the need to survive at any cost. Some time passes, and it is revealed that Kane has been in prison for 3 long years. One day, his mother visits him with devastating news. She tells him she has pancreatic cancer and won't be able to visit him as often. Overwhelmed by this news, Kane finds it hard to tell his mother about the terrible things his brother, Lincoln, did, especially since she confides in him. As time passes, Mrs. Burgess's health deteriorates further, and she is hospitalized. Meanwhile, Detective O'Hara visits Kane in the hospital, where he's being treated for injuries sustained in yet another fight. During their conversation, Kane learns that Sergeant Evans, the corrupt officer who tortured him, was actually working for Lincoln as a spy. Detective O'Hara assures Kane that he had Evans fired as soon as he discovered the truth and reveals that Lincoln wants Kane dead. So, Kane strikes a deal with Detective O'Hara to give up Lincoln in exchange for one last meeting with his dying mother. This is the scene we saw in the beginning when Kane was taken to the hospital in high security. Using an escape window in the hospital, he manages to flee successfully. Back in the present, two gang members urgently request to use the restroom, but Kane refuses and insists they use it there. Hyde, annoyed by Kane's stories, tries to act tough and challenges him. Kane takes the challenge and forces Hyde to his knees. Then he warns him that whatever he says next will be his last words. Meanwhile, Lincoln arrives with 3 of his men and is surprised to see his brother. Kane, recognizing his biggest enemy, becomes even more aggressive and disarms them before sending them to join the rest of the gang. Ready to retaliate, Kane demands a convincing explanation from Lincoln about why he wants to kill him. After their failed attempt to play the Blood Brothers, Lincoln finally confesses that he felt forced to put a hit on Kane because one of his informants discovered Kane was planning to turn on them. Kane instantly realizes that it was Detective Evans' betrayal. He tells Lincoln that the information is false. Instead of trusting his own brother, he relied on a corrupt cop who Kane recently tracked down and killed in his new job. Impressed by Kane's cunning and resourcefulness, Lincoln offers him a chance at a fresh start. However, Kane refuses to believe him and instead shoots Hyde and delivers a fatal blow to his head, ensuring a painful and swift death witnessed by all. Still reeling from the loss of his trusted assistant, Lincoln faces another blow as he discovers that only £1,500 remains in his account. Kane mocks him for his unawareness of his surroundings. It's revealed that Kane, after escaping, visited Lincoln's accountant Stokes to get his hands on the money. During their confrontation, Stokes tries to attack Kane with a shotgun, but Kane effortlessly disarms him. In a bid to spare his life, Stokes agrees to give Kane control over the £2.2 million remaining in the account, which Kane donates to the families affected by Lincoln's predatory loan business. Left with nothing but his gang, Lincoln gets mad and says that Kane will meet his end that night, with only 2 bullets remaining in the gang's possession. However, Kane asserts that he only needs 1 bullet, and it's reserved for Lincoln. As Lincoln notices Bez preparing to attack Kane from behind, he continues to taunt his brother in order to distract him and help Bez make her move. While Kane is distracted by Lincoln's words, Bez strikes him on the head with a bottle, igniting a violent fight. Kane reacts swiftly by shooting one of the gangsters in the chest, but he is soon overwhelmed by the others, leaving him disarmed. Unable to defend himself against Kane in hand-to-hand combat, the gangsters resort to hurling glasses and bottles at him. Their assault escalates when Bez provides them with a bag full of iron rods, hammers, and knives. Despite their efforts, these weapons prove ineffective against Kane and they are swiftly defeated one by one. During this, Toon flees the scene momentarily but returns wielding a submachine gun, which he fires wildly at Kane. However, much to everyone's surprise, Toon fails to land a single shot on Kane and kills one of his own gang members instead. Seizing the opportunity, Kane takes control of the gun and eliminates several more of the gang members. The remaining gang members continue their attacks, unleashing kicks, punches, and knife strikes against Kane. However, Kane kills each of them in a gruesome fashion as one has his arm broken and is then struck forcefully in the head, another falls victim to Kane's vampiric bite to the neck, and a third meets his end through repeated stabbings to the throat. Amidst the chaos, only Bez, Lincoln, and Kane remain standing. With a shotgun aimed directly at Kane, Lincoln declares that he no longer cares whether Kane intended to betray him or not. With the truth exposed, Lincoln confesses that he placed a bounty on Kane's head just to get rid of him as he was ruining Lincoln's reputation among his associates. However, when Lincoln attempts to pull the trigger, he discovers that the gun is empty. Kane, having anticipated this, chuckles at his brother's failed attempt, relieved that he didn't fall for Lincoln's earlier tricks. Enraged and desperate, Lincoln attacks Kane with a knife provided by Bez. What follows is a tense and brutal knife fight between the two brothers, with Kane delivering justice for Lincoln's wicked deeds with a fatal stab. Meanwhile, Kane is unwilling to take the life of a woman, even one as ruthless as Bez who sought to end his life, and leaves her with the bodies of those she has long served. In the aftermath, We witness one of Lincoln's victims, astonished as he gazes at his bank account balance, hinting that Kane has managed to correct some of his brother's wrongdoings. This act of retaliation not only brings satisfaction to Kane but also brings some measure of justice to Lincoln's victims, as well as Detective O'Hara.
Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more movies like this. Thanks for watching.